Hello everybody and welcome to my May wrap-up. So in the month of May I read 9 books, which is pretty good I guess, which is not up to like my average of like 14 books a month. That is because I've had heaps of sacks, I've been stressed a lot, I just haven't had the time to read, and a few of the books I have here are actually very big books. So good on me for that one. The first book I read in May was actually something I started in April but finished like well into May, and that was Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Dark Artificers series, which is a spin-off to the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices, and this one is closely linked with the Last Hours series, which is I think coming out soon, I'm not sure when. I never actually realised how much I missed the Shadowhunter world until I started reading this book, and it all just came flooding back, all the happy memories from the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices, and I loved it all so much. I was so content finishing this book, even though it was actually kind of a cliffhanger and people were like, I want more, when's the next book coming out? And I'm like, that was good. That was good. But yeah, that doesn't mean that I don't want the next book, because I really want the next book. And apparently it's coming out April of next year, and I'm like, whoa! Since when did Cassandra Clare books actually get released? Like a year after one another. Yes, City of Heavenly Fire, I'm looking at you. The next book I read was Ruined by Amy Tintera, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars, or a Goodreads 5 stars, because I scaled it up. I pre-ordered this at the start of the year, and then all these ARC reviews started coming in, and they were kind of like mixed, and I was like, oh no, don't be a bad book, please. And I was so close to cancelling my pre-order, but I'm so happy I didn't, because this book was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I love the 2 main characters, and everyone thinks that there is a lot of insta-love here, but I didn't actually see it, and I'm normally like a ugh for insta-love. I really hate insta-love, but I absolutely loved the relationship between the 2 main characters, and I cannot wait for the second book. For the first book in a series though, this was actually pretty good on world building. Normally it takes like a whole trilogy or a whole series to really get a feeling of the world, but I really got this and I really enjoyed it. But I still think there is a lot of room for improvements, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the second book. The next book I read was Lady Renegades by Rachel Hawkins, and I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Now let me get this straight. Rebel Belle was amazing. I loved it so much. It was hilarious. I loved the characters. The story was amazing. Miss Mayhem was good. It was nice. I really liked reading it. It was never really a dull moment, but it was really short and it felt more like a filler book than anything else. And I, thought to myself, if the third book is, short, maybe they should have just like joined them together. And they honestly should have. This book was tiny. It was like 250 pages, and all of it was angst and basically like a hunt for someone, and I didn't really see the point of it. I feel like they should have just, put it with the second book. It would have made it a lot more interesting to read. The overall action of this book, which I was really looking forward to see like how this all ended up, it only went like, for about 5 pages, and the resolution, the resolution is kind of what you hope to see. You hope to see it in, the third book of a trilogy, or like the last book of a series. No, this resolution went for 3 pages. I'm not even joking. 3 pages. And it wasn't even that good of a resolution. And this, I don't know, this last book kind of let me down, and I tell you what else let me down. The cover. I really don't like this cover. It's not that good compared to like the first 2 books. And I do design. I'm a Viscom student. I use Photoshop and Illustrator all the times, and I think I could have done a better job. I really don't like the colours on this. It's not that good. It actually shows up better on my camera than it is in real life. The next book I have here is Slammed by Colleen Hoover, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, so in the first 30 pages, there is a little bit of a insta-love going on. There is a little bit of like, oh my god, he's so beautiful, oh my god, he's amazing, oh my god, I think I love him. And literally on page 45, they go on a date, and it's like, oh, this is fantastic, oh, I can spend the rest of my life with him. And then there was like a massive realization, and you literally go all the way back to square one, and you can tell that this is Colleen Hoover's like debut book. It is still well written, and it's also young adult, which I don't think she even writes anymore, but this, you can tell there's something very, very, very kind of like amateurish about the writing, and I still absolutely love this book. And she did ultimately get better at writing romances, but this was fantastic. I loved these two characters. Laken and Will were fantastic to follow, and I loved their family dynamic with them and their respective families, or lack thereof. Sorry! Oh my god, I'm so mean to them. I did ultimately love this book, but it was so weird reading like an early Colleen Hoover book when I've like literally just read her newest book. And going on to that next, yeah, the next book I read was Too Late by Colleen Hoover, which is the book that she put on Wattpad, which was her thank you book, as like a thank you to all her fans for like sticking with her and everything. I read this and it was fantastic. Oh my god. I loved how there were three perspectives, and I loved how they all seemingly like worked with one another. I don't think it could have been told, you know, like efficiently if it was just Sloane, the main character's point of view. It was just, the writing was fantastic, and it was different from Slammed. It was like, you could tell from her like oldest one to her newest one, and I know she said that she started writing this in 2012, but she would have had to have like edited it between then and now. It's been like 4 years. The only sad thing about Too Late is that it didn't really have that much of an epilogue. Actually, it had about 3, which I was kind of really confused. I was like, what the hell is even going on? But I really wanted one of those famous Colleen Hoover epilogues, which is set like 10 years in the future, and they're there with like 8 million kids. That's what I wanted. It did not have that. It had kind of an epilogue, which, you know, was nice, but I really wanted more. Yep, that's it. The next book I read was Shut Out by Cody Keplinger, and I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. This book was good. I can't really judge it against Cody Keplinger's other books because I've only ever read The Duff by her, and these had very similar styles. I think it was actually like a companion. It didn't have any of the same characters, but it was set at the same high school, and I really, 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 really enjoy Cody Keplinger's take on like teenagers. She's actually a very young author. She's, I think, in her early 20s. When she wrote The Duff, she was 18, I think. But this book is fantastic in terms of handling sexuality and romances and trust and relationships, and I loved how openly it discussed sex, which you don't see a lot of in young adult books, and this was definitely young adult. It didn't even push the barrier. It was definitely young adult, and it was so real, and I really, really, really enjoyed how kind of alive the characters seemed. The next book I read was Saga Volume 4 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, and I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. This was fantastic. I love this series. It just keeps on getting better and better and better. It was just, I love where the story is going, and oh my god, this book was, it had so many twists and turns, and I was like, whoa, what the hell? Just like, chill for a minute. Oh my god, I loved the cliffhanger, and I really, really, really want to read the 5th volume, and hopefully I get to it soon. I don't actually own it, but, you know, hopefully. The next book I read was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave this one a kajillion out of 5 stars. Okay, no, for real though, on Goodreads it's 5 out of 5 stars, but it deserves a kajillion out of 5 stars. Okay, alright, this book ruined me. It ruined me in the best way possible. I loved it. It was fantastic. I had to wait a while after it arrived on like the 3rd of May because I, in my head, was still on the Tamlin Farah ship. I don't like love triangles because it confuses my poor little simpleton brain, and I need to ship something from the start to the end, and love triangles kind of mess with that. So I decided I was going to wait a bit before reading this so I could like just detach myself from the characters, not really feel anything that I was feeling in the first book, and then read it and go into it with an open mind, and I'm so glad I did. I loved this book so much. Rysand, yeah, I call him Rysand. Okay, I call him Rysand and then I call him Rhys. Like, there is no in-between. I loved Rysand, I loved Farah, I loved their relationship together, I loved like the tension there, and the one thing I didn't like though is how quick Sarah J Maas like moves her character's perspectives around. The same thing happened with Queen of Shadows, which is the only thing I didn't like about Queen of Shadows, was how one character can go from being a godsend to being the villain in like a book, and I hated it. And I guess this book did prove how PTSD and how certain events can change the way you feel about people and objects and everything. And I love that this was there. I love that she brought in PTSD, and you could see how much Farah was struggling. But I'm still on board the Tamlin might be a tool, but he deserves a little bit of redemption. The last book I read in May was The Problem with Forever by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I love Jennifer L. Armentrout. She is my favourite author. She's literally in the top 3 favourite authors. She's a fantastic writer. She's hilarious. She's a really good person. And she churns out like 5 books a year, which is absolutely ridiculous, and I commend her for it literally every time I see her name. This book was so different from all her other books. Literally all her other books, even the kind of like hard-hitting ones, had that giggly sort of humor that just made you snort, because it was just hilarious. Like her Covenant series, her like Dark Element series, like what's that series called? The Luck series, everything was just hilarious, even though it hit some like really hard spots. But this book was just pure seriousness, and I get why. It's because it was a very hard subject to broach. But even Scorched, which was a very, you know, tough subject to go around in a book, even that was done well in terms of humour, and this had like barely any humour in it, and like it had some, and I did smile and I did laugh sometimes, but it was nothing like the rolling on my bed crying of laughter thing that Jennifer L. Armentrout books normally, like, the state they put me into is that state. And I love her for it. But this just really didn't have that, and that's the reason it lost half a star, is because it kind of fell short for me, but I still loved it. I still loved the characters, but I will say that I was kind of relieved when I finished this, because it was just a little Yeah. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope to have another video up for you soon, so I will see you later. Bye!